Welcome to the Stoic Station channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're diving into a powerful topic. What happens when your ex realizes they made a mistake? Because sometimes the moment someone walks away isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of their realization. Love isn't black and white. It lives in nuance, in memory, in the quiet spaces where reflection begins after the silence has settled in. And when that realization finally comes, it doesn't knock loudly. It stirs, gently at first, and then deeply, reshaping everything they thought they understood.
If you've ever found yourself asking what went wrong, or wondering if they'll ever see your true worth, you're in the right place. I invite you to subscribe so you never miss a video. Here, we don't just talk about relationships. We explore the deeper truths beneath them. Emotional resilience, the psychology of attraction, the art of letting go, and how to find real strength when love gets messy. This isn't just about breakups. It's about becoming whole, with or without the person who left. Welcome to the journey. 1. Love promises are not contracts. They're snapshots of the heart. When someone says, "I'll never leave you," it's easy to believe that promise will last forever. And in that moment, they may have truly meant it, with every fiber of their being. But love, like life, is fluid. It grows, shifts, gets tested, and sometimes falters. What once felt eternal can change under the weight of unmet needs, unspoken wounds, or the silent erosion of connection. It's painful to accept, but vital. A promise made in one season of love may not survive another. The truth is, words spoken in love are not legal contracts. They are emotional expressions, reflections of the heart's condition at a particular time. Holding on to those words as if they are binding agreements only keeps you chained to the past. It can make you bitter, confused, and desperate for clarity that may never come. But when you begin to see those promises as snapshots, not blueprints, something powerful happens. You begin to reclaim your peace. Letting go of the need to make your ex own what they said is not weakness. It's strength. It's the moment you rise from the ashes of what was and choose to live in the truth of what is. That truth might hurt, but it also liberates. You stop waiting for someone to make good on a past vow and start becoming someone who no longer needs to be chased, validated, or chosen. You become someone who chooses yourself, and in doing so, you become the kind of person that others naturally gravitate toward. Not because you're trying to be loved, but because you already are, by the one who matters most now, you. 2. Even final words can be rewritten. When someone looks you in the eye and says, "We'll never get back together," it feels like a door slamming shut, loud, final, and painfully certain. But even the heaviest doors can swing open again with time. Words spoken in the heat of heartbreak are rarely carved in stone. They're shaped by emotion, fear, pride, and sometimes a desperate need to escape discomfort. We've all said things we didn't mean, not because we were lying, but because we were hurting, reaching for control in the chaos. It's tempting to take those words at face value, to replay them in your mind until they harden into truth. But if you can give space to your own mistakes, to your own moments of weakness, then you must also allow room for others to evolve. What feels like certainty in the pain of separation often softens in the stillness that follows. Silence isn't just an absence of words, it's a mirror, reflecting back the truth with a clarity that emotional noise once obscured. People change, perspectives shift. Time has a way of revealing what really matters, and sometimes what once seemed impossible becomes possible again. Not through force, but through reflection, maturity, and growth. You don't need to cling to false hope, but you also don't need to turn final words into unchangeable facts. Life has more nuance than that. The story isn't always over when someone says it is. Sometimes it just needs a pause, not a period. And in that pause, something unexpected and beautiful can still be written. 3. Stillness is power. Let your absence speak. In the aftermath of heartbreak, the instinct to reach out, to explain, to fix can be overwhelming. You want to be seen, to be heard, to matter again. But there is a quiet, sacred kind of strength in doing the opposite, in choosing stillness. Not as a game, not to manipulate, but as an act of self-respect. When you withdraw your presence, not out of spite but from a place of dignity, you allow space to do what words often fail to accomplish: reveal truth. Silence is uncomfortable because it holds a mirror to the soul. Your absence becomes undeniable. They no longer hear your voice, feel your energy, or see your name pop up like it used to. And in that silence, they're forced to sit with the consequences of their choice. The texts you didn't send, the calls you didn't make, the attempts you didn't chase, all of that becomes a message on its own. One that whispers, "I am not dependent on your attention to feel whole." This kind of stillness doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't try to prove anything. But it speaks volumes. It creates space for your ex to feel your value, not because you reminded them, but because they noticed your absence. And often it's not until the noise fades and the spotlight dims that they begin to truly see what they had. Your stillness isn't silence, it's self-possession. And that presence, even in your absence, becomes unforgettable. 4. No contact isn't a game, it's a healing space. There's a common misconception that no contact is just a tactic, a clever strategy to make your ex miss you, to spark curiosity, to regain control. But that view cheapens what it truly is. No contact isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's not a silent punishment. It's a sacred space, a boundary, a moment carved out in time where healing can begin for both of you. When a relationship ends, emotions often spiral. There's chaos, confusion, and an ache that screams to be soothed. But reaching out too soon, trying to fix things before they have had a chance to settle, only stirs the dust. Silence, on the other hand, allows the storm to pass. It's in that quiet, when the noise of conflict has faded, that both people can finally hear themselves think, and more importantly, feel. Your silence isn't saying, "I don't care." It's saying, "I care enough about myself to step back." It's saying, "I need space to rebuild what's been broken in me." And whether your ex realizes it immediately or not, the distance gives them room to confront the weight of their decision without your voice filling in the blanks. They begin to wonder. They begin to reflect. And in that reflection, the possibility of regret begins to take shape. But even if they never return, no contact still serves you. It helps you regain emotional balance. It lets you detach from the version of yourself that was entangled in pain, longing, or dependence. It teaches you that peace is not found in their apology, but in your presence with yourself. You stop waiting to be chosen again and start choosing yourself. No contact is not about absence. It's about presence. Your presence in your own life. It's a quiet return to center, a deep breath after emotional exhaustion. And sometimes in that space, something unexpected happens. Your ex begins to miss not just who you were to them, but the calm, self-assured person you've become in their absence. 5. When they reach out, they're not always ready to apologize. When you see their name light up your screen after weeks or even months of silence, your heart might skip a beat. A simple message, "Hey, how have you been?" can feel like the dam breaking. But don't mistake that quiet reach for a full surrender. Often when an ex reaches out, they're not arriving with flowers and a heartfelt apology. They're arriving with questions they haven't yet formed into words, with feelings they're still trying to understand. That message is not closure, and it's not commitment, it's curiosity. They're peeking over the wall to see if you're still there, if you'll respond, if the door they once walked out of is still unlocked. And while it's natural to want clarity or some emotional justice for the pain you endured, expecting a perfect confession will only lead to disappointment. Most people don't return with poetry and tears. They return cautiously, testing the water with a toe before they dive. Your job in that moment isn't to perform or prove. It's not to fall back into old patterns, nor is it to freeze them out entirely. It's to remain grounded, respond with warmth but not urgency, with openness but not need. Let them feel that while you may still care, you are no longer the person waiting by the door. You have grown. You've learned to stand still with strength, and now if they want to walk back in, They must earn their way, not with words, but with intention. 6. Subtle curiosity is a sign of inner conflict. It often begins quietly. They view your story but never say a word. They like a post from 2 months ago. They bring up a shared memory when talking to a mutual friend. At first glance, these gestures may seem meaningless, mere coincidence perhaps. But for anyone who's been through the raw aftermath of a breakup, these small actions often signal something deeper. They are not accidents. They are the quiet echoes of someone who is no longer certain about the choice they made. People don't always know how to express regret directly. Pride gets in the way, fear gets louder, vulnerability feels risky. So instead of calling you and saying, "I miss you," they watch from a distance. They test the waters without getting their feet wet. When they see you moving forward, when they realize you're no longer orbiting their life, waiting, hoping, it unsettles something inside them. Not because they're jealous or possessive, but because they're feeling the quiet sting of what it means to lose someone who once felt familiar, safe, real. That curiosity, however subtle, is often born out of conflict. A part of them wants to believe they made the right decision, but another part starts to whisper doubt. Maybe they wonder if you've already met someone new. Maybe they start to question whether they truly explored the depth of what you had together. And in those quiet moments, the absence of your presence becomes louder than anything you ever said. You may feel tempted to react, to post more, say more, do more in return, but you don't have to. Your silence, your calm, your ability to continue living fully and honestly is enough. Let their curiosity grow, not because you're playing games, but because you're radiating peace and purpose. That's what truly disrupts their certainty. They begin to see you not as the person they left, but as someone stronger, more self-assured, someone they might not be able to reach so easily this time. And that realization, it cracks through even the thickest armor of pride. It introduces doubt where there once was finality. It creates space for reflection. And for some, it becomes the very beginning of a journey back. Not always, but sometimes. And if it does, you'll know it didn't happen because you begged. It happened because you became someone worth returning to, without ever needing to chase. 7. Fear of truly losing you is what flips the script. There comes a quiet moment, often when you least expect it, when your ex begins to sense that something has shifted. It's not that you've become cold or angry, it's that you've stopped reaching. You're no longer lingering in the corners of their digital world, no longer the echo they once expected to hear when they look back. And that's when it happens. Not all at once, not with fireworks or a wave of panic, but with something far more powerful, a slow, sinking realization that maybe, just maybe, you're slipping out of their reach. This isn't about revenge. It's not about making them pay. It's about the natural consequence of emotional distance, the kind that only shows up when one person begins to truly reclaim their life. Your absence begins to rewrite the narrative they once held about you. You're no longer the safe, constant presence they could take for granted. You've become a mystery again, a maybe, a what if. And that what if can be haunting. They might not express it openly. Pride often silences vulnerability. But deep down, they begin to ask the questions they once thought they'd never need to. Did I walk away too soon? Did I underestimate what we had? Did I let go of something I can never replace? These are not questions born out of loneliness, but out of the recognition that certainty is gone, and that you, the person who once felt like a guarantee, have now become someone they're no longer sure they can reach again. This is where the script flips. Not because you forced their hand, not because you guilted or chased, but because you chose stillness, because you chose self-worth, because you let go of trying to convince someone to stay and instead began living as if you were whole, not waiting, but evolving. That fear they now feel is not the kind that screams. It whispers. It tugs at them in the quiet hours of the night. It walks with them when they pass familiar places. It sneaks into their chest when your name comes up unexpectedly. It's the kind of fear that doesn't just miss you, it regrets not valuing you enough when you were right there. And in that space of uncertainty, They begin to realize that you are no longer theirs to lose casually. You are someone they would have to pursue, to earn back if that door is even still open. That shift, when you stop waiting and they start wondering, is where true power lives. 8. Time distorts memory. And that's good. Time has a way of bending the sharp edges of the past. What once felt raw and jagged begins to lose its sting. The heat of arguments, the sting of misunderstandings, the tension of mismatched timing. All of it slowly fades into the background. And in their place, something softer begins to emerge. The laughter that used to fill a room, the comfort of knowing someone understood you without explanation, the way your presence brought them peace even on their worst days. This is not denial or nostalgia. It's the natural way memory works. The brain, in its quiet wisdom, often remembers the things that mattered most. The essence of connection, the feeling of being seen, the moments when love felt effortless. When you step back and give the relationship space, you create room for those moments to breathe again in their memory. You allow the best version of you, the one they first fell for, to reappear, no longer clouded by the ending that blurred your light. It's easy to think that distance will make them forget, but often the opposite happens. Distance clears the noise. It silences the final arguments and allows their heart to search for the truth beneath the breakup. Time doesn't just heal, it reframes, it reorders. And when someone has lost something of value, it's time that reminds them of what they miss. Not the last thing they saw, but the best of what they once held. 9. The strongest comebacks are built in the dark. There is something sacred about the quiet season after heartbreak, the space where you disappear from their world, not out of spite, but out of necessity. While they've been moving through the world with the illusion of certainty, convinced the decision to leave was final, you've been doing the invisible work, the work no one sees, the kind that happens in silence when the nights are long and the emotions are heavy. You've been reading, reflecting, rebuilding, not to become someone they would want again, but to become someone you can be proud of. This chapter of solitude isn't about proving anything. It's not about crafting a perfect version of yourself to win them back. It's about returning to your own rhythm, discovering the parts of you that may have been buried beneath compromise, people-pleasing, or the slow erosion of self that often happens in relationships where love became lopsided. Every morning you choose peace over panic. Every time you show up for yourself, even when no one else is watching, that's your comeback being built. In the dark, where no validation is offered and no applause is heard, that's where real transformation happens. And what makes this growth powerful is that it's rooted in truth, not performance. So while they may remember the version of you they walked away from, they have no idea who's rising now. The silence that they once interpreted as distance has actually been the sound of you rebuilding your foundation. Stronger, wiser, clearer. Not waiting, not chasing, but walking forward, with or without them. Because the strongest comebacks are never loud. They don't need an announcement. They simply arrive, steady, grounded, and unmistakably whole. 10. You hold the pen now. Write a new chapter slowly. If they return, and yes, sometimes they do, it may be tempting to dive headfirst into what once was. The heart remembers the good times, the laughter, the comfort of familiarity. But this time, things are different. You are different. You're not here to relive an old story. You're here to decide if a new one is worth writing. You hold the pen now, not out of vengeance, but out of wisdom. You've learned the value of your peace, your time, your heart. So if they want to be part of your life again, let it unfold slowly. Let there be pauses between pages. Let their actions show intention, not just emotion. You don't need grand gestures or declarations. You need consistency, honesty, and effort. Saying I'm open, but I want to take things slowly is not a wall, it's a gate. A mindful threshold that honors both your healing and your hope. Because the person who once walked away should not be handed the keys without proving they know how to hold them. Let them feel the privilege of trying again. And let yourself feel the power of choosing, not out of fear, but from fullness. This is your story now, and you decide how it's told. Sometimes the most powerful truth we can accept is that love doesn't always come with guarantees, and that's okay. Reading through these reflections, I'm struck by how deeply they speak to something we all wrestle with after heartbreak: the tension between what we were promised and what we were left with. I used to believe that when someone said they'd never leave, they meant it forever. That love was a contract, not just an emotion. But life, as I've learned, is far more complex. Emotions change, people grow, and sometimes those promises were simply snapshots of someone's heart in that moment, not lifelong vows. The most liberating lesson I've taken from this is that holding on to past promises keeps you trapped in a version of the story that no longer exists. It's like trying to force an old key into a new door, painful, futile. But when you stop trying to make someone fulfill words they once spoke and instead choose to honor who you are now, you reclaim your power in the most graceful way possible. The truth is, people don't always come back with apologies or clarity. Sometimes they come back with uncertainty, confusion, or subtle curiosity. And your role isn't to rescue the relationship. It's to remain grounded in your self-worth, to recognize that your stillness, your silence, your growth in the shadows, all of it has shaped you into someone whole, not someone waiting. The biggest takeaway? You don't need to chase love to be worthy of it. And if they do return, they're not walking into the same story. You're no longer asking to be chosen. You're deciding if they still deserve a place in your new chapter. And that shift, that's not just healing, that's transformation. Sometimes in the aftermath of heartbreak, it can feel like time is working against you, like every passing day is pulling them further and further away. But here's the truth. Time has a quiet, powerful way of working for you, not against you. It creates space. It brings perspective. It opens the door to healing, the kind that can't be rushed. And yes, not every love circles back. Not every goodbye turns into a second chance. But what time does give you is the chance to become the strongest, truest version of yourself. Grounded, whole, ready for whatever comes next. In this video, I share everything you can do to give yourself the best possible chance, not just of getting your ex back, but of rising through this with clarity and self-respect. Because at the end of the day, all you can do is your best. And sometimes your best is simply showing up for yourself. One day at a time. If this video brought you insight or comfort, it would mean the world if you gave it a like and subscribe to Stoic Station. As always, thank you for being here. And thank you for choosing growth, even in the hardest moments.